But the headline is several Tampa Bay Rays players declined to wear LGBTQ logos on uniform for Pride Night, reports say. So I would have no problem wearing the logo for me personally. But here's where the concern I have is. And the story basically is just saying that there's these players that, I'm not going to read too much of it. There are players who just decided not to wear it. Somebody said it was a faith-based decision and it wasn't judgmental. That's not even really relevant. Whatever reason you don't want to wear it is the reason. You don't have to give a reasoning. That's for public perception to fight that battle, because you could be called any kind of name. And that's where the concern comes from. So the manager said that they were impressed that their players were able to handle it in the locker room and didn't cause any division. I'm thinking about the non-aggression principle. So I'm learning, I actually signed up for the Libertarian Party because of, and I will say it's 100% because of the Mises Caucus taking over the Libertarian Party. I never thought I would ever do that, ever. The Libertarian Party was a joke, a clown, a literal clown show. And the reason I bring that up is I'm learning about the principles from famous libertarians and current ones now. And one of the biggest ones, and I'm on libertarianism.org, is the non-aggression principle. And what I'm struggling with, because what I'm feeling here is that when a company forces you to put a logo on, that it's not like it's Pepsi or something like that. It's now you're putting on a logo for an ideology behind, like I said, I would have no problem wearing the logo, but the issue is when the company forces it on, and they didn't force it because the 5 or whatever players didn't wear it. But when you do this, it's under the backdrop of the government supporting this ideology. It's not like, we're going down a dangerous path with identity. They're supporting more than just the identity. They're supporting the ideology of critical theory. Like, I can identify as whatever I want to identify. So it's one thing for me to say, hey, a libertarian approach is like, to me, is you do you, I do me. And we're good. I respect you, you respect me. But to me now, when you say, oh, if you really respect me, you have to put a logo on to support my ideology. And I don't know if this is aggression or not, but it feels aggressive to me. Like, I'm not going to force you to, obviously I'm not a black identitarian, but I'm not going to say, oh, you've got to wear this black person or this logo that supports black people if you really support me. That seems crossing the line to me. So my point is, why even roll that out at a company level? What are we okay with and not okay with a company rolling out an ideology? And then even bigger than that, a government-supported ideology. So how do we know under this umbrella that all of this is organic? But let me read a little bit of the non-aggression principle.
The non-aggression axiom is an ethical principle often appealed to as a basis for libertarian rights theory. The principle forbids aggression, which is understood to be any and all forcible interference with any individual's person or property except in response to the initiation, including, for most proponents of the principle, the threatening of initiation of similar forcible interference on the part of that individual.
When you look at it, it's like aggression. It's leaning towards physical aggression. But when I'm reading about what Rothbard thought, Rothbard took it to a more general term.
Some libertarians use the term coercion as synonymous with aggression, whereas others use coercion more broadly to designate all use of force, including legitimate defensive use. Hence, under the former formulation, but not the latter, the non-aggression axiom would prohibit all coercion. Although the ordinary sense of coercion arguably involves getting somebody to do something, so that simply assaulting somebody would not count as coercion, conformity with this usage is the exception, rather than the rule, in libertarian theory.
And if it was just a private company deciding to do this, without the government supporting the same ideology, it wouldn't feel as aggressive to me. It's just a private company. You can, in this case, you can do what you kind of want to do. But when the government, this is why our country was founded. In this, the LGBTQ kind of commercialization and movement, it's beyond just letting people be who they are and celebrating that they can be who they are in the great country of America. It's gone beyond that. Now what it's gone to is a religious aspect. Like, here's the ideology behind it. Here's the ideology that you have to agree to. And for example, that manifests itself in Joe Biden and the executive branch threatening to take away school lunch money for schools that don't adhere to a certain agenda. And so you have that under the backdrop that ties into just regular LGBT, commercialization. So you know what the government wants. The government's flying the flags as well. And it seems good. It seems like it's a progressive approach compared to some of the draconian and crazy stuff that you would ostracize someone just because of who they choose to love or sleep with. Nobody that I roll with, or no more normal people, don't like that. So now we've used that to turn it into an icon of obedience. So if the government takes that and it's gone completely away from celebrating people to be who they are, to now we'll take away your school's lunch money if you don't subscribe. So the Biden administration has officially embraced this whole topic here. It shouldn't be a shock. And it announced it will strip money specifically for lunches from schools who don't allow students to use the bathroom of their desired gender. So that's not supporting someone for who they are. That's saying, hey, we agree, because if not everybody agrees that you can just choose who you are, your gender one day or another. That's the critical gender theory. Not everybody agrees with that. So this is the government picking a side. Instead of the government saying stay neutral, the federal government, instead of the federal government staying neutral. And keep in mind, if you support this, then you really support someone who disagrees. I don't support it either way. So hypothetically, maybe you got a president in the executive branch who says, I don't subscribe to this, so I'm going to withhold money if you do. No, I'm not for that. So people are clapping like baby seals when they see it from someone who they agree with, but they don't support it when someone on the opposite side would want to do the same thing. So Title IX says the school districts will allow, people who identify with each gender into each other's locker rooms, bathrooms, and showers and sleeping quarters. So now the government is saying, hey, if you don't subscribe to this, we're going to take money from the people who need it the most. Funding for lunches. That doesn't affect rich people. That's straight up affecting people who need funding to have their kids eat every day. That's some dark stuff. Like, can we not see that this is not heading in a place of love and caring? This is insanity. And you can't speak out against it without, it's just like I don't see race. I love everybody. I try not to see race. It's impossible to be completely neutral, but you say I'm neutral. I try not to see race. I love everybody. And I try to judge people by the content of their character. Now they come in with an ideology that says, if you're not anti-racism, then you're racist. That's aggression. What do you mean if I'm not anti-racist? I can be whatever the hell I want to be. You don't tell me what I am or what I can be or what I can't be. And it's the same type of thing that the government has the ideology. If you don't subscribe to it, you're ostracized. So all companies subscribe to it because you want to be in the good graces of the government, right? So you all subscribe to it, and then it trickles down to the players. You've got to put a certain logo on your shirt. And then now if you don't wear it, our team's going to offer you a new contract? Are you going to get fired from your job? I mean, every company in the country could say, and if every company that has a logo could say, hey, everybody's got to wear this logo. If you don't wear this logo, can you get fired? Are you ostracized from your fellow employees? It's unconstitutional for the government to have a state-sponsored religion, and this is coming too close to that. The ideology has to be out of it. The government can't be in ideology, subjective ideology. Absolutely not. This has gone beyond civil rights. And I'll end with this. I was having a chat about the children and the drag queen. You might have heard about this. And we were chatting on it, and one person seemed to me to be insensitive to people who identify as LGBTQ. And so somebody was replying is like, man, you're a little insensitive. And what I said was, I don't disagree. That person was insensitive. But my big takeaway is, the more our government attacks freedom, so it's not Tampa Bay necessarily attacking freedom, it's the government setting the platform for the corporations, NASCAR buying into it, everybody buying into it. Like, you can't disagree? This is unusual. This is weird for every country to have to, every company basically to have to buy into this. The more our government attacks freedom, the more they attack tolerance. It's creating a toxic environment. And that's why it's unconstitutional for the government to prop up an ideology as better than something else. You are not better if you believe in critical theory of gender, that you can fluidly change your gender 1 minute to the next minute. You have your right to that belief. But you are not better than anyone who does not believe that. And the government cannot say so. And that's literally what they're doing. Somebody's got to stop this train. We're heading to a cliff. Stop the train before we fall off of it.